So in this problem, I am charged with simplifying a complex rational expression. Before I do it, the first step I think I need to do is I need to get each individual term factored as simply as I possibly can. So my very first term is this 1/2, and I can't really change that any better, so I have 1/2. And that's plus 2 over x minus 6. Not really a lot of factoring I can do there. And that is divided by, well, 3x minus 6. I can factor out a common monomial. I can factor out a 3, and I get x minus 2. And just so you're careful, I don't know why, but it's very easy to factor that into 3 into x minus 6. I did it the first time I tried. A lot of people made that mistake. It's not. Just make sure you do it a little bit carefully. And then looking at my denominator of the denominator, I see I have a quadratic, and I also see that the first term is a square, and the last term is a square, and my b is the sum of the square roots, so I can see that this is actually x minus 6 squared. So now my job is to find a common denominator. Well, I'm going to find the common denominator by just going through each term one at a time. Here's my first term right here, the 1/2, and I see I have a 2, so that's going to become part of my common denominator. And then my next term over here has an x minus 6. That's going to become part of my common denominator. And then my last term here has x minus 6, but it has another x minus 6. So I have x minus 6 twice. And what I'm going to do with this common denominator is I'm going to bust this fraction. So I'm going to take my lowest common denominator here, and I'm going to first multiply it by my very first term, which is 1/2. And when I do that, I can see that the 2's are going to cancel out. I don't want to leave them canceled. So what I'm going to have is I'm going to have x minus 6 times x minus 6. That's times the 1, but I don't really need the 1. Now, I'm distributing my lowest common denominator now to the next term, which is 2 over x minus 6. So I'm going to have plus 2 times, and this x minus 6 is going to cancel out, and that x minus 6 is going to cancel out. Again, I don't want to leave them canceled out. So it's going to be 2 times 2, because the 2 is still there, right here. That didn't go anywhere. And 1 of the x minus 6's. Now, I'm going to distribute this to my denominator. I'm distributing it to the whole denominator. So I can see that the 2 x minus 6's, they're both going to cancel out. Again, I don't want to leave them canceled out. I just wanted to show you what I was doing. So I'm going to be left with 2 times 3 times x minus 2. So I'm beginning to get some simplification here. Now, looking at my numerator, I can see I have x minus 6 times x minus 6. So I can see that's going to be a quadratic. And I can see that this portion of it over here is going to be linear. It's going to just have 1 power of x. So I can tell, as can you, that there's going to be some combining of like terms here. But first, I need to expand it out. So x minus 6 times x minus 6, x squared minus 12x plus 36. And then I'm going to add to that 4 times x minus 6. And that is going to be divided by, well, 2 times 3 is 6. And I'm going to leave the x minus 2 in factored form. Let's continue. X squared minus 12x plus 36 plus 4x minus 24 divided by, I'm going to leave this against 6x minus 2. I'm going to leave that in factored form because there's no like terms that I'm going to be combining there. Going back to my numerator, I have x squared, and I have negative 12x and positive 4x. That gets me minus 8x. So those two are taken care of. And I have positive 36 and negative 24. That gives me plus 12. Those two are taken care of. And this is divided by 6x minus 2. 6 times x minus 2. Well, now I want to look at my numerator here and see I have a quadratic. And I'm wondering whether I can factor it. And I think that I can. I think I can factor that into x minus 6, x minus 2. And that is divided by 6 over x minus 2. And what do you know? X minus 2 crosses off. So my answer is x minus 6 over 6. Now, just to point out, in other circumstances, this may not be factorable. Or it may be factorable and there might be nothing you can cancel out. But if it's factorable, you need to factor it to see if there's something that you can cancel out. Because if there's something that you can cancel out, the correct answer, the simplification, requires that you cancel it out. Another common error made in this problem was forgetting way up here that when I was doing my numerator, this whole term here is being multiplied by this whole lowest common denominator. So the x minus 6's cancel out, but there's still this 2 and that 2. So don't forget, just because they're the same number, just take your time, be methodical, and make sure that you account for every part of the lowest common denominator.